And we will go ahead and begin. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, let's go ahead and present. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. For those who do not know, my name is Jill. I am one of the health coaches or the health coach here with Vida. And so Vida, we are a career, leadership, life, and health coaching company. And we help people love their life. It's in our name. We are Vida. And so we help through our own unique coaching processes and the different foundational programs that we have. We help anyone, whether they're looking for career, leadership, health, or life. We really help them to live their best, fullest life in our name, Vida. You know, one other thing I forgot to do is I'm going to go ahead and I have to log in so I can make sure that I can admit people. So 1 second. All right, I'm going to stop sharing really quick, guys. Letting these people in. All right. All right, sorry guys, hang on 1 second. This is, I guess, what I get for trying to run things on my own, right? All right. Okay, we are good. Let's try this one more time. Oh goodness, not there. There we go. All righty, we are good to go, guys. Sorry about that. All right. So now that we know a little bit more about Vida, here is a little bit more about what to expect for today. So high level, I feel like this is just the common thing to do, but just talking about what diet culture is, how it impacts our lives, because it's really, really sneaky. And there's some things that we don't realize that diet culture infiltrates and how they actually affect us, and for how long. So looking for those things to keep track of and how we can shift them, how we can change them. So here is a quote that I kind of took from other quotes and kind of built it into my own that I feel just is really apparent and really just in sync with what we're going to talk about today. Self-confidence, self-worth, and self-acceptance all start with self. We must stop looking outside of ourselves for value. And this one really stuck with me mostly because I created it myself. But something that I've realized just through my own personal journey, and I'll talk about that in a second, is I've realized that, you know, through my own experience, but then also to being a coach and working with so many different people, so many different journeys, is that when it comes to our bodies and self-esteem and our body image and wanting to look a certain way or wanting to feel a certain way, is that it's all here, right? We're doing these things, we're making these changes, we're making these decisions to help our bodies, right? To do something for our body, to make ourselves feel good. But when it comes to our body, why is it that we tend to look outwards? We tend to go to other people. We tend to ask other people. We tend to ask trainers or, personal trainers or whoever, Instagram, anywhere, anyone, how to live our lives and how to make us feel good. But that's what creates just so much stress and overwhelm and disconnection, because we're trying to fix this, right? We're trying to fix our body and heal and feel good. Well, why do we always look outside? So all of this work is all about reclaiming our power so we don't have to keep depending on other people to make us feel a certain way. So it's all about the self, right? Self-esteem, self-love, self-confidence. It starts here. All right, so group chat. So I'm still manning the chat. So I would love to hear from you guys. What comes to mind when you hear the word diet? And feel free to put in the chat whatever you feel. What comes to mind when you hear the word diet? Feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll give you guys a few minutes. Yes, restriction. Depriving myself of the foods I love so much. Yep. Depriving. Yes, absolutely. Boring food. Boring food. Boring. Yes. Hungry. Changing my eating habits. Okay, these are great. I'll write some of these down. Boring food. That makes me chuckle. I agree. Hungry, restriction. These are great, guys. Ability to reach my goals. Okay. Love that. All right. These are great, guys. Depriving, restriction. Awesome. Changing my habits to fit. Ooh, Donna. Changing my habits to fit someone else's ideal. Whew. That is a powerful one. To fit someone else's ideal. Great. Unrealistic. Ooh, you guys are good. Unrealistic. Yes. Not for the long-term. Structure. All right. Oh my gosh, these are awesome. Okay. Keep them coming because I'm going to come back. And I always use these to kind of build with the webinar. So keep them coming. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Those are, yes, on point. Absolutely. I agree. All right, let's check the waiting room. Awesome. All right. So diet culture is all of those things that you guys just shared. Diet culture is a system of beliefs and values that worship thinness and prioritize body weight, shape, and size over health and well-being. And it's all of these things, everything that you guys shared. Hungry, restriction, because those are all representative of our own experiences with diet culture, right? And, it's just interesting to hear, I heard some even, ability to reach goals and structure. And so it's interesting, and then we hear restriction and boring food and hungry. And so that's why I like to start off with this kind of this working definition of what diet culture is based on our own experiences. Of course, we have a definition like this, which is just the basic definition, but there's so many emotions and thoughts and memories, and there's just so much that goes into that. So the purpose of this practice right now is just to create that working definition, to know what we can look for. So we need awareness first, right? Awareness of what to look for so that we know what to change. So another group chat, group discussion. You guys are crushing these already. I love it. Where do you see, or do we see, diet culture in our daily lives right now, today? And I'll give you guys some time to think about that. And the thing with diet culture is that because it kind of just infiltrates us in so many different ways, and it really is an individualistic experience. All of this, it comes through a filter, right? So some of those words that you shared with me on what comes to mind with diet culture, it's coming through a filter, right? Like I said, it's this filter of what we've experienced and how it's made us feel. But when you think about it, is when I asked what comes to mind when you hear the word diet, interesting enough, no one said anything about the body or how the body looks, or it's just about a feeling, right? Deprived, feeling, boring food, similar, hungry, restricted, changing habits, unrealistic structure. Those are all kind of in a way, feelings. These are these things that are as a result, and so seeing what comes through culture and daily lives, it helps us to kind of be aware of these things. All right, so let me check. What do we have in the chat? All right, everywhere. Yep. Ooh, Dina, when I started diet, I began to crave everything that's not on the list of foods I can eat. We will talk about cravings. Begin to crave. Awesome. Everywhere. Social media, TV. Yep. Magazines, radio. Ooh, my own thoughts. Yep. Yeah. The plus size characters. Really the love interest, just the quirky best friend. Yes. Ooh, you guys know what's up. This is awesome. Yeah. It's everywhere. I think we can safe to say it is everywhere. Um, and it really is. So here's just some examples. You guys already touched on a lot of these. Certain body types idolized in media, TV, ads. You look, especially now, which is why this webinar is so relevant, is going into the holidays. I'm already starting to see gyms, talking about get that, that holiday weight, all of that, gym membership, resolutions, all of that stuff. It's everywhere. Especially social media. And now that we're all, most of us are still in quarantine like states. So we only have we have constant access to social media, to TVs, to movies, to Netflix, to everything. And it's everywhere. It's black and white thinking. And so this black and white thinking is a lot of like good and bad. So good foods, bad foods. We had Dina say foods that are on the list that she shouldn't be, or food that she shouldn't be eating. These shoulds. It says black and white thinking of good versus bad, clean versus dirty, healthy and unhealthy. I'm trying to think of what else is like the black and white thinking, and you guys can feel free to put them in the chat. But you get that it's kind of like giving food, giving these things moral values. It's not good or bad. Healthy is an aesthetic. So this is where I see a lot in wellness brands. It's all about wearing the Lululemon leggings and the outfits and, the crystals everywhere. And you're supposed to look this way and drink these drinks and eat this and all that. And it's about this aesthetic, but it really does not target anything that has to do with how we actually feel on the inside. It's all about this look, right? The diet culture is this look. Same with fat phobia. There's so much fat phobia. Dina made a great comment that the fat black or the fat person in the movies that's exactly, there's not much more to their character. They might be the funny person, or they might be, kind of the background. There's a lot of that. There's so much of that. And we're making progress. We really are. We really are making progress, especially with body acceptance and body neutrality and body positivity. But we still have so much work to do. The discussions around this is a great start. All right, so here are a few more examples. And again, the reason why I'm really digging into a lot of these examples is because they're everywhere. Like we said, diet culture is everywhere. So again, making that awareness around how we are seeing this everywhere in our lives and society, so that we know how that makes us feel. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So this idea of thinner is better. Penance for food. Well, if I ate and drank like crap, I'm going to have to work out twice tomorrow. Or I need to work out so that I can go enjoy a dinner out tonight. Or I need to work out so that I can drink wine tonight. Sound familiar? Yes, can speak to that for so much. I did everything: penance for food, penance for drinks, penance for enjoyment, penance for cake, penance for everything. Bodies are just for show. So this is everywhere. It's all about how our bodies look. And, especially with women, that we are brought up to think that our bodies are just for show, and that boys are supposed to look at us a certain way. Men are supposed to look at us a certain way. Our bodies are not for show. That is not the purpose. Our value is not in appearance. The when then game. This is a really big one. When I lose the weight, then I'll be happy. When I lose 5 pounds, then I'll go on that date. When I do this, then I'll do that. But the thing with the when then game is that if we're trying to feel a certain way, so when I lose weight, then I'll feel happy, then I'll feel good, then I'll feel confident. But if we play this when then game, it becomes conditional. So that feeling that we're looking for, that we're trying to attain, we become so dependent on this one thing to make us feel a certain way that we're not creating that on our own. And so what that looks like is that when that one thing gets taken away, that feeling that it brought also gets taken away as well. So I'm curious if anyone has experienced this. So I didn't really have time to touch on my whole story. But yo-yo dieting and playing the one then game was so much of my life for so long. And when I lose weight, then I'll feel a certain way. But anytime I would get to that goal weight, it'd feel really good in a second, really good in that moment. I'd be like, all right, yes, I did it. But then what? Then what? Right? Because once that excitement went away, I was still left feeling all of those certain things, all of those things you guys shared in the beginning. So when we're dependent on something to make us feel a certain way, it becomes conditional. Lifestyle disguises. This is a lifestyle, not a diet. But here are foods that you should eat and here are foods that you shouldn't eat. I don't know about you, but being aware of how these diets can be disguised as lifestyles is really important too. Childhood conditioning. So this is something that I get into very, very in depth with my coaching, but it's something that I want to bring up because I think it's really important to be aware is that so much of our beliefs and habits and just views on the world, views on society, views on body image, views on the body itself, so much of that is developed at such a young age that we don't even realize that a lot of these habits or these beliefs about how our bodies should look actually developed at a much, much younger age than we think. It's just that we don't realize that those beliefs are being created until we're at a certain age in our life, usually older, where we realize I'm not feeling the way that I thought I would be feeling, or I'm not feeling the way I want to be feeling. What's happening? Why are these things still going on? Why can I break these habits? Why am I still obsessed with dieting? Why am I still doing this? And so it's like all of these beliefs that were built up at a young age are finally catching up to us. And so that healing does take a lot of practice, but it's something that I just want people to be aware of because it really is important in how understanding how these beliefs develop. All right, another group chat. How do you think, in your guys' own words, now that we've discussed kind of this working definition of what diet culture is, how it affects us, where we see it in society, how do you feel? And you can speak from experience too, because I know I speak from experience on how diet culture affects self-confidence. And it could be different, right? We're all on a different journey. But I would love to know, how do you feel diet culture affects our self-confidence? Oops. I'd love to hear from you guys. All right, let's take a look. I feel like a failure, never whole verse refined. Ooh, puts me on the defensive. I feel I have to explain or justify a weight gain. Ooh, Donna, that is a good one. It's almost like it's like an instant, it's like a reaction. It's like a default. Even if someone makes any sort of compliment or even something, I know for so many years, people would compliment me and I would always have a rebuttal. I would always say like, oh, like, well, Jill, you look nice, you look great. Now, of course, this was years ago when I was obsessively trying to lose weight. And so people would comment on my weight. But because I had so much of my value and my worth wrapped up in my appearance, that my appearance was never good enough. So even if someone complimented me on my weight, which was the goal, right? I wanted people to see how I looked and all that, I still couldn't fully accept it. I would still find something else that was wrong with me. Oh no, I still have 5 pounds to go. I still have this. And I would default and I would deflect. So that when you said that, Donna, I felt that so much. It can affect you negatively if you lack self-esteem. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Like a subclass individual. Thank you for sharing all those. I can relate to every single one of those. It's like it's like you're on this hamster wheel, right? Constantly working towards something and never fully feeling satisfied, not whole, on the defensive. Those are important. All right. So knowing that actually, I'm going to go back to this for a second. So based on what we've talked about and based on, what you guys have shared, diet culture affecting self-confidence, it isn't always a positive correlation. Now it could be, based on what your experience are. Now I know when I was successfully losing weight, yeah, that was a success. But then the 30,000 times that I gained it all back, that was not success for me. And so just being aware that, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, that's also a byproduct of being just wrapped up in diet culture. I found that. So I was constantly comparing myself to other people. Walking down the street, I would look at girls' stomachs just to see. Walking down the street, I would look at girls' thighs. I was constantly comparing myself. And I know that comparison, that puts a huge detriment on self-confidence as well. I'm sure anyone can experience the comparison trap, right? That's a big one. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. All right, so now that we know what diet culture is, how it affects us and our confidence, how can we dismantle this and rebuild our confidence? All right, so but for, guys, hang on 1 second, really quick, hang on. All right, sorry guys, we have a very full office this morning. All right, oh, and side note, for anyone in Chicago, if you are in the Lakeview area, you should definitely come by and say hi to us and check out our new office. All right, so but first, acceptance and compassionate curiosity. So you guys, this is so important for whenever we're trying to make any change, big changes in our lives. So remember when I was talking about childhood conditioning and how we kind of develop these views and these beliefs at a really young age. So with that being said, that's a long time. That's years and years and years, some of us decades, on strengthening those beliefs. But we don't really know yet at those younger ages that they really aren't serving us. So that's an entire lifetime right now, wherever you are in your journey. If you are looking, to change these habits or just to learn more, whatever it is, knowing that we have a whole lifetime of already preconditioned beliefs, it takes a long time. It takes a while. I shouldn't say a long time, but it takes a while to undo those and to reframe new processes, new beliefs, new habits, but it's not impossible. So acceptance looks like just accepting what is right now, even though you might not like what it is. So even if you don't feel confident in your body, even if you still feel that, 10 pounds to lose is going to bring you something, whatever that is, that's fine. You're okay wherever you are. But you just have to accept what is right now so that you can move forward. Because we have to accept as a starting line, right? Accept what is. I might not like what I have right now or what I'm feeling right now, and that's okay. I get to move forward from here. And compassionate curiosity. Compassion is hard when it comes to our bodies and new habits and making these changes because we've been doing things for so long a certain way. But compassion helps to make this process a little bit easier. Because if we're so woundly tight and hating ourselves and saying mean things and doing all this, it makes change a lot harder. But if we can just practice just a little bit more compassion at first, it makes the change a little bit easier. So body neutrality. So I added this the last second before, and the reason why is because I actually I wrote a blog post on body neutrality lately. So where I'm at with this, hang on 1 second before I go any further, I'm gonna check the waiting room. Okay, good, we're good. So body neutrality, I'm curious, yes or no in the chat box, who has heard of body neutrality at some point? You don't necessarily have to know what it is. I'm just curious, just a quick yes or no, if you've heard of body neutrality before. Yes, no, I think so. Okay, so good, a good mix. So body neutrality is something that I would say within the last year or so, I've really started to really pick up So my story, really quick, is I battled an eating disorder for a very long time. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder. And high school, I am almost 33. And so high school was getting diagnosed at such a young age. It was a very, very long, lonely journey. This is before social media. This is before body positive. This is before Lizzo. This is before, anything. Before therapy was cool, right? So it was very long and lonely. And I through my own kind of universal craziness and guidance and everything, I found myself to be a coach. And I thought that through my own experience and what I learned as a coach, that this end goal was supposed to be this, we're supposed to love ourselves unconditionally. And I think that that's a good goal to have, but it doesn't have to be the only one. We don't have to force ourselves to love everything about our bodies, especially when we've been trained our entire lives to not love anything about our bodies unless it looks a certain way. And so I was kind of talking with my clients, there was this one time where my client was just like, I just don't like my stomach. I keep trying to like my stomach. I just don't like it. So I asked her, I said, well, what if you stopped trying to force yourself to love your stomach? How does that make you feel? She's like, well, feels pretty good. Feels a little less stressed, a little less overwhelmed, a little less frustrated. I go, great, let's run with that. What if we could just learn to be okay, learn to be neutral, where we're not super, super excited, super elevated, super obsessed, and we're not super hateful or being really hard on ourselves? What if we just accept what is? What if we're just neutral as body neutral instead of forcing love? And body neutrality a lot is about being appreciative and being grateful for what our bodies do for us instead of how our bodies look. So I feel that, because there's so much pressure on our bodies to look a certain way, that I think that we kind of, as society, try to combat that with going to the opposite. Well, instead of hating our bodies, we just have to love them. But what if there's that middle ground? What if we can just be without being one way or the other? So another question I would love to hear from you guys, because body neutrality, and this is something that I go in very, very deeply with my clients, and it's not just a quick 5-minute talking point. If I were to do a webinar or a workshop on body neutrality, give me a quick yes. Who would be interested in that? Because I'd love to expand on this a little bit more, but let me know, just a quick yes or no. You can let me know if you wouldn't come. If you think that this would be something of interest. Ooh, I got a yay and a deaf. All right, you guys rock. This will be my next webinar, so keep an eye out for that. I feel like most of you are on our events list, so I'll make sure to include that in my follow-up email as well. All right, so we're going to keep moving on. Like I said, body neutrality is a much more loaded concept, but now I know that you guys are interested in it, so let's keep going. All right, so this is how we are dismantling these diet culture beliefs that have kind of been just infiltrating us, right? So redefining health. So even when I say I'm a health coach, people, I know, depending on what your experience with health is, that's where you're going to go. Some people immediately go to, oh, you tell people what to eat. Oh, you help people lose weight. Oh, you tell people how to work out. And so the point of that is that health is so broad, right? My definition of health is going to be vastly different from all of your definitions of health. But the one common thing that I truly believe in, now this is my own experience, this is with my own research, this is with my years of coaching and working with a vast variety of clients from so many different backgrounds, journeys, experiences, is that health, what we all can come to, is that health is a feeling. It is not a look. Health is a feeling. So what does health feel like versus what does health look like? So really understanding that going back to that feeling, remember in the beginning when I was talking about that self-confidence quote, how we all were on this journey to heal our bodies and to make ourselves feel good and confident and healthy and happy and all these things. But then we look outside to fix those things. It's like, what's wrong with that? We need to look back inwards. We need to stop looking externally and start feeling internally. And so that's why I redefine health based on how you feel. What's your definition of health? What do you think healthy feels like? Define that by you, only you, no one else. And this kicker of a question that is totally just makes my mind blown every time is asking myself or asking ourselves, would I be doing this if it didn't guarantee weight loss as a result? Now, another point of this is now there are certain things, like working out, that I know that this is a tough one because people, and I was trained to believe that I needed to do certain workouts in order to be considered a success. Now, when I asked myself, and they were not fun, I didn't enjoy them. I would dread going to class. I would dread going to the gym. I would dread doing it all. But then when I started asking myself, would I be doing this if it didn't guarantee weight loss as a result? No. Now, that's not for me. That's not for everyone. That's just for my own experience. But really getting super, super honest with ourselves as to what feels good. That's how we build those better habits. It's really hard. I have clients all the time. They're just like, why can't I make this a habit? Why can't this be a habit? Well, do you enjoy doing it? No. Well, maybe let's start there. We want to just really get used to asking ourselves first, what is going to feel good for me and for me only? Rejecting diet mentality. So this is a little bit trickier, because there's so many things in our lives that can reinforce diet mentality, right? So what in your life right now reinforces diet culture beliefs? And so some of these things, what that looks like is cookbooks. I had to kindly and gratefully tuck away some of my cookbooks that I had from years ago that was like the skinny life and the diet this and whatever those catchy skinny girl taglines are. The scale was a huge thing for me, getting rid of that, because I realized that when there's a lot of chaos going on, especially right now, so much stress and uncertainty and overwhelm and all of this crazy stuff going on the outside, is that it's natural for us to want to control something. And we tend to go to the one thing that we feel that we can control. And that's our food, and that's it working out. And the thing with that, we want to be careful is that, and it's kind of this interesting concept to understand, to unpack, is that we try to control our food and we try to control working out and all of these things. But really, at the end of the day, who's controlling that behavior? And I realized that the scale was controlling and dictating everything I did, everything I ate, everything I chose to do socially. So again, it's all about how those things are making you feel. Social media accounts, that's another big one. I used to follow so many people because I thought that it was inspiration for me. That all these Instagram accounts are, inspired me to work out and eat healthy and all that stuff. But guess what happened? Comparison trap. And I realized that when I stopped looking at what it was and I focused on how they made me feel like crap. I mean, they were great people, and they, were, more like dietitian and nutritionist accounts that were more specific to certain things. Doesn't really matter. But when I stopped and just focused on, how are these making me feel? I realized they weren't making me feel great. And that's okay. You don't have to completely disregard them forever. But when I was going through my own change and my own transformation, I just needed to kind of put up some blinders at that moment to help myself really feel confident in moving forward. And guess what? Some of those people, when I was ready, I was able to refollow them again. But it's totally up to you. Just focus on, how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Ooh, self-talk. Self-talk could be its own workshop of itself when I'm actually doing an entire workshop on just positive self-talk. So this one also takes some practice. We want to be aware of not just how we are talking to ourselves, but how we're talking about ourselves. Um, and that's a tricky one because the both of them are, because the thoughts that we have, they're really hard. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are negative and 90% of them are repetitive. It's a lot of thoughts just running through our head that feels like we can't control. Most of them we can't, and that's okay. But again, remember, this is all about awareness on how some of these things just make us feel so that we know that we can change them. And so self-talk is, that we can kind of like, one of the more obvious ones is diet talk with friends. Um, Maybe not so much now, I feel like, because of COVID and everything, but diet talk, even just like talking about how much weight you lost, or talking about how so much weight so much someone lost. I'm at an age where a lot of my friends are getting pregnant and having babies, and I've noticed that comments are, "Oh my God, you look so good, you lost all of that baby weight, congratulations." Well, that into that. It's like, well, what did I look like, or if I'm getting all these compliments right now? So not just how we feel, how are we making other people feel as well. Self-talk is also something that there's very, very, very specific strategies that I use with my clients to help create this space to observe our thoughts without letting them affect us. And that takes a little bit more time, and it's a hands-on process for sure. But just being aware of how, when we say certain things, to catch ourselves and ask, okay, is that true? Is that really making me feel good? How can I stop and be aware of how I'm talking about myself and to myself is so, so, so important. Intuitive eating and basic nutrition. So I'm actually curious. I would love to know, because this is another topic that's interesting, is who has heard of intuitive eating? Just a quick yes or no if you've heard of intuitive eating, or if you know what it is. Yes. Okay. Good. No. Okay. No. All right. Oh, nice mix. Okay, great. So intuitive eating is something that has kind of come to light in these last few years. And it's all about going back to the basics, reconnecting with our bodies, and trusting our bodies to tell us what we should eat, what we want to eat, what is going to feel good for us right now. And it's all about trusting our intuition. Because here's the thing, our bodies are so much more intelligent and brilliant than we give them credit for. We've been taught so much of our lives to think logically, to think our way out of things, to go to other people to figure things out, to go to that, to go to that. Really, oh my goodness, our bodies have known so much more than we ever would this whole time. And so intuitive eating is all about repairing our relationship with food based on trust and connection, because we've been so disconnected from our bodies for so long. That's why we think we're supposed to, or we should be doing all of these things, right? Like dieting, weighing, working out crazy times, doing all this stuff. And all of these things, they're making us feel restricted. They're making us feel hungry, unrealistic, deprived. But when we can bring all of that back and look inwards, like what I've been saying this whole time, that's how we repair that relationship, by trusting our bodies again. Because guess what? Our bodies know so much more than we give them credit for. In basic nutrition, so the reason why, so something else with intuitive eating is to focus on, is because this is also a very, very loaded, it's a whole 12-week program process that the founder of intuitive eating talks about. So there's a lot there, but just creating awareness, right? And something else to focus on is that intuitive eating is all about feeling. It's all about honoring our hunger cues. So when you're hungry, what do you tend to do? Do you avoid it? Do you try to suppress it, or do you honor it? When you're full, how do you honor your fullness? Are you choosing foods because those are the foods that you think you should be eating, but you're left hungry after. You know, what foods are going to make you energized? What foods are going to satisfy you, that are going to make you feel good and full and not make you feel agitated and hungry all the time? Um, so intuitive eating is all about this feeling. And then basic nutrition. So I am not a nutritionist, but I did work with a nutritionist for years back in my dieting days. Um, and I will say that although my intention back then was different because my intention was to lose weight, my intention now for basic nutrition is to learn how food does in my body. Just understanding what are the basics for nutrition. And so something that I learned from my nutritionist is basically just learning the basic stuff. I keep saying basic. Oh my goodness. The foundation of macronutrients and micronutrients. So macronutrients are carbs, fats, and proteins. And so what I've learned is that the basics of understanding why all those macronutrients are so important for every meal, the science of what happens to our bodies. So someone said before that I tend to crave all the foods that I'm not supposed to have. Well, guess what? That is your body's way of letting you know your body desperately needs those foods that you're eliminating. Right. So this is that perfect example. And I've been there. Trust me. Trust me. I was there for so many years of my life. But this is that perfect example of when we are told we're supposed to be doing these certain things. We're supposed to be eating these foods. We're not supposed to be eating these foods. But at the end of the day, why do our bodies always crave those foods? Because our bodies know. Our bodies know what they need to function, to give us energy. Food is fuel. And women especially tend to undereat about half the calories that we're actually supposed to have each day. We tend to undereat dramatically on protein to the point where it can affect our bones and our muscle and so much of our physiological functions. So that basic nutrition is just so important just to have as a general foundation to understand how foods work in our bodies. They're going to work different for everyone. But that's why this journey is so individualistic, and that basic nutrition for yourself is so, so, so important. Lastly, community. So I talked a little bit about this before. And I know, again, things are a lot different. I don't know what a lot different still. And I know that it's a little bit more challenging to have that human face-to-face connection these days, especially with, going into the holidays and, I'm already starting to see things about the holidays and prepping and how to, not eat the sweets at grandma's. It's all crazy. And so I know that support, that community support is a little bit more challenging to find these days. But you can absolutely still find that community and still find that support, whether it's through social media accounts or it's through coaching, or if it's through reaching out to some of your friends and just being like, hey, let's do vision boards, or let's focus on, whatever it might be, something that has nothing to do with body or dieting or weight or anything like that. You have that power, whatever community it is that you're craving, it is out there. And trust me, when we are able to, let's just stick with following Instagram accounts, for example, for right now, kind of what I was talking about before, where I was using these Instagram accounts as kind of like inspiration, but really at the end of the day, they weren't inspiring me at all. They were just making me feel like crap and comparing. And so something that I was able to shift for this virtual community, right, is following more weight inclusivity accounts, following more body positive accounts, joyful movement, not, for me, not that rigid exercise of working out, 7 days a week and doing this and because that wasn't feeling right for me. That wasn't the community that I wanted to surround myself with. Just things that make you feel good. Just things that make you feel good, because that comparison piece, it is tricky and it is sneaky, and it just bites you at the most inopportune times. So we want to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with those people that make us feel good, those people that can help remind us that our bodies are not just for show. People that will say, "Oh my gosh, like look at your smile. You look like you're glowing. You look so happy," as opposed to, "Oh, did you lose weight? Did you have those?" Just being aware of these certain things that we've been experiencing, and how do those make you feel? How does those make you feel? And whatever that feeling is that you're looking for, you have the power to create that. Sometimes we just need a little bit of guidance or even some tools to help us get there. All right. So would love to know. So these are kind of loaded questions, but just off the top of your head, this was a lot today. But what is your biggest takeaway, or what's something right now that is standing out to you from today that you learned? And then in addition to, what is one commitment you'll make to yourself from what you have learned today? So I'd love to hear from you guys. What are you thinking? Okay. People a few minutes to answer. Yeah, today was a lot. There's a lot discussed today, and I know from experience and from doing this webinar as many times as I have, is that there will be questions that come up for you after, whether it's questions about the content or questions about your own personal experience. Please feel free to reach out. And, even if you would like to share, what your biggest takeaway is from today based on, or later on, please do so. And one commitment. Yay, Erica, intuitive eating. I'm constantly obsessing about what I eat and whether that's what I should be eating. Yes, Erica, that's a big one. Thank you for sharing that. Listen to your body more. Yes, because that's where it will eventually click, in the sense, when we realize that we're constantly looking outwards and we're trying to find things externally to make us feel something internally. But that's why that was the one thing that clicked for me, is that I was constantly looking for happiness and joy and confidence and all of that. But I was looking for those things outside of myself. I was looking for weight, jean size, food, all of these things to make me feel a certain way. We can't look outside and expect something to change on the inside. We have to look inside first. So that listening to your body more, it's a game changer. And my cravings. Oh, and another thing, Erica, too, that I would, and this is for everyone, I'm jumping ahead, but it's on the next few slides, is that because I'm fully aware that these questions and these challenges that we're all still going through. I'm a coach and I still go through, and I still find self-esteem. I still have bad body image days. It happens. We're never going to be perfect. But Erica, or anyone who feels that if you have any specific questions on how to help you apply or embody that, kind of giving you the beginning steps and action steps to help you begin your intuitive eating journey, begin listening to your body more. I'm going to share a link on the next few slides. I'm opening up just for people today as a free consult with me, because I know that these topics can be triggering. I know that these topics can feel like a lot, because I've been there, and I know that this is heavy. This is a lot, because it feels like it's so much of our life, and it's all we can think about. So I promise, trust me, I know I've been there. So please, if you have anything that you would like to just dig into a little bit more with me and deeper on how you can start applying intuitive eating today, or anything like that, please take advantage of that. Because like I said, my journey was really slow, very lonely, and very long. And I never want anyone to feel that way. So take advantage of that for sure. I'm here for you, I promise. All right, so let me read some of these takeaways. That my cravings and weight fluctuations are not my fault. Ooh, oh my gosh, yes. I resolved to enjoy my food without criminalizing my choices. Ooh, Donna, yes. Oh my gosh. That your cravings and weight fluctuations are not your fault. Absolutely 100%. Eat to live, don't live to eat. Yes. I love that. Gratification comes from within. Oh, you guys are good. These are so good. Oh my gosh. I learned the meaning of intuitive eating. I will not beat myself up when I eat something bad. It's okay to eat what I crave, but don't go overboard. Yeah. And I think that when you eat something bad, even that alone, what's bad? Who who defined bad for you? Where does bad come from? It's we want to be, this is that self-talk piece, right? Is picking up some of these things that we say we don't even realize, it's that black and white thinking. And it eats something good, something bad. Well, who made those foods good or bad, right? Hint, diet culture. It's okay to eat what I crave. Yeah, but don't go overboard. Of course, that is something, that's kind of digging a little bit more into the intricacies of nutrition and everything. But it's a great practice, Dina, to try that out to see, when you do crave those foods and you maybe just explore a little bit and maybe you satisfy those cravings, how does that make you feel? Instead of sticking to these labels of what's good and what's bad, what's healthy, what's unhealthy, what if we all just bring it back to how do we feel? How do we feel? I think that can help to kind of dissipate a lot of this question and negotiation and should I eat this or should I eat that or so and so said I shouldn't and there's this list, whatever that is, just take a second. How does this feel? How does this feel? So thank you guys for sharing those. Sounds like intuitive eating could also be another really great topic. So thank you guys. All right. So like I mentioned before, something that I want to let you know is that this journey, no matter where you are, there is nothing easy about any of this. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And we wouldn't have to have body confidence coaching and we wouldn't have diet culture. But here's the thing, is that because of my journey, everything that I have gone through, the failures, the ups and downs, the relapses, just everything. I've gone through that long, lonely journey to explore and fumble and fall down and get back up again and research and research and research and research. I did all of that so that you don't have to, because I know how scary this journey can be in the back and forth and feeling good and taking 5 steps forward and 10 steps back. I promise you, I've been there so many times I've lost track. But from my experience, that's what I get to help my clients do. That's what I get to help you do. Is that we don't realize sometimes that we have all of these blocks or these limiting beliefs. I know that's a term that kind of gets tossed around a lot, but these beliefs and thoughts about ourselves that are preventing us from moving forward. But the thing with working with a coach who's been there is that I get to recognize those things and help you figure that out on how to release those beliefs on your own. Because this is all about reprogramming all of that stuff that we learned at a really young age. Remember that childhood conditioning and those thoughts and all that stuff. Is that I can help you provide clarity on your goals and what that looks like. Accountability. I think that was the biggest reason why I signed up for one of many coaches back in my days, because I needed that someone to help me stick to building these new healthy habits. Habit change is a really big one too, and reclaiming our personal power. Remember, we have all of those habits and I still do all the time. Is our initial instinct is to look outwards as we feel something is not right, and then we're just like, oh, I have to figure out what it is that I'm feeling, and I need to find someone to help me figure that out. But it's all here. It's all here. And to stay in, to get in touch. So I am going to send a follow-up email after, so that way you can stay connected with me on Instagram and LinkedIn. And I also will send this link. And that is for that free 30-minute consult with me. And, I just find that is just super helpful because, one, it gives you an idea of how you can actually, depending on how we use that conversation, right, to give you actionable steps to help you start bringing you closer to your goals. Even if you don't know what your goals are, that's a whole week's worth of work that I get to work on with my clients, is helping you define what are your goals. Because for me, when I was working with a coach, I had so many goals that I thought were my goals, but really at the end of the day, they weren't ones that were making me feel good. They weren't true to me because they didn't excite me. They didn't motivate me. And so that a lot of the time is that missing piece of, well, what are my goals and what actually is important to me. So that's something that we can help kind of iron out. Whatever it is, whatever you feel that you need additional support with, please take advantage of this. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of my slides, and I would love to hear if you guys have any additional questions for me. I know there was a lot and we're kind of up on time, but I would love to know what questions you guys have. Awesome. Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for the comments, and thank you so much, everyone, for engaging in all of your questions and just everything. I'm so grateful for that. And please, like I said, if you do feel that you want to dig a little bit deeper into anything that we covered today, please take advantage of that free consult. I'm actually going to go ahead and paste it in the chat box right now in case anyone wants to just hop on that really quick. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and send it in the follow-up email. And lastly, if you have any questions, that is me behind those emails. So if anything comes up for you after you've let all of this material digest and settle, please feel free to reach out and ask me a question directly there. Or you can use that link and feel free to ask me questions there as well. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much. And please keep an eye out for some of those other topics in those webinars that you guys helped me to create. And I hope to see you all again soon for another one of my events coming up. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.